Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and he's Dean, the football insider. Dean, how are you, my friend?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. It was a nice weekend for me because I knew that I wasn't going to have a great week, so I was happy when not that many other people did either. So, a rare weekend when, low scoring was fine in my book. But you didn't have such a good time, did you, mate? I imagine you don't take these weeks that well.
I don't, mate.
You've gone on to mute, mate.
What am I doing? Apologies for that, everyone.
Like you were doing it. It's just because you're so out of flux. You just can't handle it.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. I've had a few green arrows, which is nice when you're presenting on this channel. But I've had a big fat red arrow, and I look forward to showing you guys my team in the next 5 minutes. And look, coming up today, we've got FPL Visa. We're of course reviewing the game week just gone. Got a bit of eye test report, bit of Dean's notebook, and we'll be answering your questions. So thank you for joining us in the chat today. Do get your questions in. Nathan Smith says, loving the shirt, Dean. I thought when I read those first words, I was thinking he's going to say, loving the shirt, Gianni, because it's my favourite ever football shirt I'm wearing. But Dean's white Fulham one seems to be getting the love.
Greatest team in the world, mate. Fulham will beat Italy, wouldn't they? Surely. Yeah, Luke says you've muted yourself deliberately, by the way, and I agree.
I actually went to a game at Craven Cottage to watch Italy play once. I can't remember who Italy were playing. It wasn't a memorable game. It was on the same night.
We staged quite a few internationals. Yeah, it was probably against like Colombia or someone like that. Like they tend to play a lot of South American games there, so it might have been one of those.
Yeah, you're right. I saw Chelsea, Italy, Brazil at the Emirates as well. Like the South Americans in London seem to always be good.
I do love that gig, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much about the Italy game at Craven Cottage, but I do remember it was the same night as George Groves versus Carl Frock, the second one. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was so much hype around that boxing fight, which didn't disappoint either. So guys, looking forward to getting through this. But obviously, I would love you guys to like and subscribe to the channel. Heisenberg's with us today as well. Very good FPL manager, and he's asking about some strategy, and look, we want to touch on that in today's episode. Loads that have got their chips remaining. Free hitting 33 was the original plan for many, but Dean, I was looking at free hitting in 33 and I needed Liverpool, City or Chelsea. I just needed one of them to lose their FA Cup game, because they lost their FA Cup game, they were going to get a double in 33, and they were all forecast to get really nice doubles. All 3-1, which means there is no double for City, no double for Chelsea, and no double for Liverpool, which makes that free hit a little bit less attractive. Like United have got a double, possibly the best team to double. Arsenal have one, and it's 2 poor fixtures. United have Norwich and then Liverpool. It's really tough to go big on that week, I think. Yeah, Leicester have a double, but
you can't be trusting Leicester, can you? Yeah, I mean, Arsenal, if it wasn't for them having Chelsea the second time, Southampton you'd be fine with. But a second game against Chelsea, like, what are you really hoping for from that? I mean, it'd be fine if you've already got an Arsenal player, but you're not deliberately going out to double score in that game, are you? So tricky one. Punter says Dean was bang on about Jimenez on Friday. Thank you, mate. I was. I didn't foresee him getting a silly red card that never should have been, but it worked out for me, so that's fine.
I mean, when you do against the obvious and your player blanks, you feel like you've had a real win. We've done it a couple of times. When you have against the obvious, you pick a player that gets minus points. That is the stuff dreams made.
Yeah, it's rare, but you take it. Bad night for Wolves, but a good night for me.
Yeah, it was. It was a terrible night for Jimenez owners, and it was fairly funny because so many had gone Jimenez for that blank. They had kept him just for that 1 week, and then he goes and does that. And it was a game week without Rafinha. We didn't really see that coming. We had heard the rumours, but there was nothing confirmed. Ramsdale was out the same. And then Kilman, a player in both of our teams, also didn't start. Like, it was just that week where there were some big names missing out.
Honestly, I've got to look into this Kilman situation. What's going on? Like, he's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League this season. Had a bad game or two by his standards, and twice in recent weeks has found himself out of the side. Like, this is worrying and very annoying, because he was, a decent asset, wasn't he, to have, and suddenly just disappears at a time when you really, really need points in a quiet week. So that was the shame. Wolves have got Aston Villa next, and that's a really big local game. So let's see whether in the next 2 weeks he can win back some trust and get back in there, because I need him back.
Yeah, me too. Me too. He was the cheapest way to that centre-back threes, cheaper than Size, cheaper than Cody. We thought he was nailed for every minute. Dean, you can keep us up to date on Kilman news, perhaps in the next week or two, because I look forward to hearing a line on that. Guys, please do get your comments in. Look, we'll be doing a comment of the stream as well. So we'll be think creatively in your comments today and your questions. But first up, we're going to get and have a look at Pimp My Team. Here we go. Got my team up first. A measly 43 points. And thank goodness for Harry Kane. But 43 points and only 5 players playing. You can see a few zeros and a few dashes there. So I had a bit of a transfer dilemma on Friday, Dean. I was toying between Amati and Ben White. And I went Amati just to save money. I kind of knew Ben White over the course of between now and the end of the season. Ben White is 1, going to play every game, Amati won't, and 2, was more likely to score points this weekend. But I was swayed a little bit by the fact I already owned Ramsdale and just thought, I don't want double Arsenal. And Amati's clean sheet percentage, I think I mentioned on the stream, Leicester were the most likely with the bookmakers to keep a clean sheet. And look, they did till 85 minutes. And Amati, I'm someone that watches games and is scrolling live on the bonus point score during the game. And Amati was on for a bonus point. So he went from 7 points to 2 with 5 minutes to go for what seemed like such a pointless Brentford goal. So
mate,
I with that.
I've got him too. And I had I'd last checked the score at like 78 minutes or something. And I was like, oh, happy days. Like that should be fine. And didn't even see until like quite a while later that they conceded. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, in the context of the world, it really doesn't matter. But it like feels in that second, like everything is just caved in, and you're like, "What? How has this happened?" Very frustrating.
Yeah, like 7 points on that week seemed like a really
that would
big
have been a belter
return.
because, like as someone said a minute ago, Luke, even getting 1 or 2 points from your players felt like a success this week. It was funny, and it genuinely did. Just if your player was even in the lineup, it felt like it was a result. And there was a few players that obviously turned up and performed, and for you, obviously you said you'll miss Kane if you haven't got him this week, and I guess you were right.
Yeah, and look, if you didn't have Kane, fortunately, those that didn't captain Kane, many, I know you didn't, Dean, we'll see your team in a sec, went Son, and Son actually outscored Kane. But guys in the chat, let us know how you got on, how many points you got. FPL Focus is with us tonight. Hello, mate. Desira's with us, and he brought in Luke Thomas for a -4. That is a bit of a heartbreaker because Luke Thomas has been so nailed for Leicester. Obviously played in Europe on the Thursday night and was perhaps just due a rest. So that's a really tough one. If you're taking 4-point hits this on game week 30, you needed them to play. Desira's asked about Barnes. Is he now a better option than Rafinha for the rest of the season? Bearing in mind, in game week 33, Rafinha doesn't play at all. Barnes has a double. However, Leeds have got so much to play for. Barnes has the European football involvement. What's your take there, Dean? Who would you go with out of those two? It's a tight one.
It is a tight one, but I mean, you're just looking straight up at the next fixtures that they got. Rafinha potentially got Southampton at home. Barnes, what's he got? Man United away. Like, you still, if you've got Rafinha, I think you just stick with him. If you were to pick one of the two and you didn't have one, then I can see an argument for going for Barnes, but I wouldn't swap Rafinha out for him at that stage. Might give it another week. So I could see Rafinha bouncing back and being very important for Leeds in that home fixture, which is so important to them. That win will pretty much secure Leeds' place in the Premier League for next season for sure. And you'd imagine with that crowd behind them and Southampton being a bit flaky, they'll probably get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I go Raf. And game week 32, I think he plays Watford, whilst Barnes plays, I think, Crystal Palace, which, I mean, the way Palace are playing at the moment, we'll speak about them shortly in my eye test report. Palace are a team who definitely isn't a gimme as perhaps it was earlier in the season at times. Guys, we have had a new top spot in our mini league, and this is the mini league, of course, that is the Chasing Green Arrows mini league. Now you can join at any time in the season, and we've got a new entrant that's top, and it's Oliver Graham. He's just leapfrogged Mohammed. Now this, guys, is to win a PS5. Mohammed's been cruising at the top of the league, but Oliver and Mohammed both captained Harry Kane. But Oliver just pipped him. He's how many points? What's the points difference there? Oh, okay. He's come in. He's ranked 457th in the world.
Oh my days. I mean, when we said anyone could join at this stage, we didn't literally mean anyone, not somebody that's going to jump straight to the top and take the PlayStation away from everybody. Mohammed, absolutely gutted for you, mate. You've really got to raise your game here. You've got a new competitor with a few weeks left. I'm just looking at the table. The guy who's third got 82 points.
That's ridiculous.
That is absolutely ludicrous. Michael, like, that is unbelievable. Yeah, he fielded a full team.
Oh, he was on a free hit.
Yeah,
he was on a free hit.
Yeah,
but still, hit. That's a good free hit.
Even with that, like, that's impressive. To get everyone out on the pitch is an impressive free hit. Even all his subs played.
Yeah.
Well played.
This week, I mean, if you're getting 15-man squad out on game week 30, you're doing very well. But yeah, Oliver Graham, top spot, 457 in the world. Mohamed's at 1.5k. And look, Mohamed, unfortunately, bad news here. Oliver has still got both his free hits and his bench boost to play.
Oh my!
He is cruising. We could have. Oliver could win this thing. Imagine.
Oh my goodness! This guy might win the whole thing by the sound of it.
Yeah, he really could. Imagine that. That'd be pretty cool for the Chasing Green Arrows Mini League. So look, guys, there's codes at the bottom of the screen if you want to join it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, and there's a fair few new faces today, thank you for joining us. We do these streams every Monday, every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. Please do like the channel, but also if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Stephanie said with all his injuries of Arnold and Ramsdale and Rafinha, is wildcard now a better option 31 or 34? Look, those guys that are injured, we're going to talk more about them shortly. I think there's a very good chance they are fine come game week 31. I personally would hold the wildcard unless you feel you have to use it. You could dead end your team into 33. Wait, United and Leicester and Newcastle have got double game weeks. You could therefore buy those players. Perhaps you don't want Leicester, Newcastle, and United players beyond that. You get them for their doubles and then you wildcard out of it. And you still set yourself up for that double in 36 and 37 as well. So probably do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dean, let's have enough misery my end. All right, 5 players out. I'm guessing you got a similar number of players out. So let's have a look at your team.
Fewer, I think, mate. Yeah, I mean, it got off to a bad start while we were on the live stream on Friday, didn't it? Because I had 2 players due to play that night, Kilman and Rafinha. I was only putting out a 6-a-side team anyway, and straight away 2 of them weren't playing. So I was down to 4 for the game week. And only 2 of them really came back with decent points. Gabriel and Saka came up trumps for Arsenal and basically got me almost all my points. I ended up on 34, which I was happy with. You know, when Saka scored, I was obviously very happy. If he could have just got one more, I'd have been delighted. Like, that would have been a really good week for me with that lineup. I mean, will be my worst, surely my worst output from here out. And, you know, I'm reasonably optimistic about the next game because I was having a little look at it earlier and I was like, okay, things can pick up from here. I can try and have a strong end to the season. One week I might even outscore you. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, ultimately, Saka absolutely rode to the rescue.
I've no doubt you will outscore me one week. I like the fact you've got some differentials in there. Like, I'm someone that sees a lot of teams on sort of FPL Twitter, and all of our teams kind of look a little bit like mine. They're all very similar. You've got players that I think could still come good. That if Calvert-Lewin can stay fit for a double game week, he could be nice. Jota, everyone's sold Jota. You've still got him. Mount did so well in the FA Cup. He got 2 assists. And look, your boy Ella Nusi, I know he's not in your team anymore, but when he scored they got the own goal, I was thinking, there's FPL points.
Yeah, that went me up because I've just got rid of him last week. But yeah, coming forward, Jota, you know, potentially Watford at home if he's playing, Rafinha, Southampton at home, Calvert-Lewin with a double, Everton desperate for points. I've got Roberts there, he's got a double game week. So yeah, next time, Mount, Brentford at home, that could look all right next time turn around. No Spurs players, no Spurs, because I haven't got any. Son and Kane, like the only 2 I could really count on. I can't really afford them at the moment. So I've been trying to figure out if I was to get one of those in, who it would be, and can't really find a way I'm going to afford Kane. So it would have to be Son. So potentially I could move Jota out, I guess. And I think I've got a bit in the bank. I might be able to get Son. So might be something that I look at. But yeah, ultimately it would be a big decision. No real Son and Jota, like for the rest of the season, though, if I was weighing that up, is there going to be a massive difference in points that they pick up between now and the end of the season? I'm not sure there will be.
I'm not sure either. I think Liverpool definitely create more chances than Spurs, and Spurs create a lot. But Liverpool, in terms of XG, just beat everyone by a country mile. We just need Jota playing every game.
Just need him to play. Like that's the big worry, isn't it? The thing we talk about now is the rotation of the front line, and with them still in Europe, with those 2 Man City games looming now in April too, the double header when they got him in the league one week and the FA Cup semi-final the following week. Cup Champions League game in the middle of it, like that period's going to be crazy trying to predict lineups.
Yeah, I think it will be. Guys, loads of you in the chat, and I'm seeing a fair few new faces. Thank you to Fella and Focus, and Desire is obviously with us, but Zodak as well. Guys, if you are new and perhaps you've seen me and Dean for the first time, if you've seen me and my FPL teams, I'm sure, and I've shown you mine, and it's very template team, I hate to say. You might be looking at Dean's team thinking, that's a little bit different. Well, Dean, whilst you're an FPL enthusiast, you're a journalist in your own right, and you go to a lot of games and you know a lot of players and contacts at clubs. And
you flipped onto mute again, mate. You got someone's sitting under your desk just flipping you onto mute today. They're not interested in what you got to say.
So weird. That's weird. I'm not touching the microphone. I was teeing us up nicely to introduce you as someone that gets some good information out of football clubs, and that can really help us pick our FPL team. So without further ado, let's have a look at your notebook.
Yeah. Yeah, so a few players, like it's a bit different this week because there's actually a gap in the schedule. So there's no imminent games to look out for, but just a few little things, I guess, to look out for over the international break going into the next game week. A few players on my radar, and one of them, Jarrod Bowen at West Ham. Obviously, a lot of people have him in their team. A lot of people either have just ditched him or are considering ditching him. There's been a lot of reporting around his injury and saying it's worse than originally thought, like not sure how long he's going to be out. I spoke to someone today and they still think there's an outside chance he'll be ready for that first game back after the international break against Everton. There's an outside chance, like he's working hard, and obviously with a 2-week break, even with a potential fracture bone in his foot, I think that there's a small chance he'll be ready for that game. They're desperate to have him back in time for the Europa League. But yeah, ultimately, like, don't ditch Bowen just yet, because if he can play, he will play. There's a lot at stake. And even if he's not there for that first game, might just be worth hanging on for. I think the other conundrum you're going to have, though, is ultimately, like, are West Ham pinning their season now in the Europa League? Like, it seems pretty unlikely they're going to come fourth in the league. They could finish 5th or 6th, yeah, but ultimately, if they win the Europa League, then that's a big prize. You know, you get back in the Champions League. So, yeah, maybe someone says maybe Kufal too. That's a hard sentence to get out. Maybe Kufal too. Yeah, there's potential that he could come back too. Yeah, he had a hernia operation. He's recovering, and there is a chance he'll be back for the Everton game. So let's just wait. Let's have a breather on this and see when we get to the end of the international break how we're looking in terms of those two.
Yeah, and look, the fixtures for West Ham, next 3, Everton, Brentford, Burnley. If you've got Jarrod Bowen in your team, and by the way, guys, he's 11.8% owned still. Bowen is still in a huge amount of teams, still amount of active teams as well. So definitely one I think you hope can be fit and be involved. But you're right, Dean, like the prioritization of the Europa is there, but you still look at the teams left in the Europa League and think, sure, look, West Ham have been really good. Like, to knock Sevilla out is amazing, but there are still some very good teams in there. You know, let's not forget Barcelona and Atalanta and teams like that. So they're not favourites by any stretch. And to still get top 6 and get European football next year is still going to be big on Moyes' list, right?
Absolutely that, yeah. So it's a really interesting situation. I'll get an update before we get back to the games. The other one, big injury that people have their eyes on, obviously, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't know what percent owned he is, but pretty much everyone I know is
50, I reckon.
I mean, a lot of people have him in their teams, and look, this wasn't good. Like, when he picked up an injury, everybody's panicking, but it's looking okay. Like, they feel that he will be back in April. Whether he's back for the first game, which is against Watford, isn't entirely clear yet. And you look at the next 2 games after that in the league is Man City and Man United, and obviously in Liverpool's calendar, like those are massive games. They've also got Champions League. They've got that FA Cup semi-final too against Man City. So they're obviously going to be priority fixtures. So it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't figure from the start in that Watford game, just because they won't want to risk him. We saw what happened with Reece James when he came back for Chelsea and got injured. But it still might be worth holding on to him. It might be, unless you think you've spotted somebody who's got a good run of games and is going to outscore Trent once he's back in that team. Think it might be worth holding on to Trent, because if he is back for that run of games, he's going to be so key to Liverpool, and he does tend to pick up points in the biggest games.
Yeah, Fella's made a good point. Like, you should have enough to cover him. And look, that's what your bench is for. Players like Trent, if you sell, the week later you're gonna want to bring back. Like, so many owned Cancelo and then wildcarded a few weeks ago, and they got rid of him. And I see why, because the fixtures weren't there for Cancelo. But straight away, they're already looking to get him in, and you lose so much money because you might pay 6.5 for Cancelo, and now he's 7.2 or whatever. And you're like, okay, I've got to find that extra money. So Trent is just a long-term hold, season after season. If Trent is 10 million next year, we will still all buy him. We just will.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to be 10; he'll be 8.5-ish, but you'll go there all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, I think Gomez would start against Watford. I mean, Gomez had a good game. Gomez did really well. They were very happy with the way he stepped up. So I think that is definitely a possibility. And Gomez has a lot to play for at the moment. He's not sure if he's still going to be at Liverpool next season. Possibility he's transferred. If he is going to transfer, then he wants to get himself a really good move. And there's a few clubs looking at Gomez at the moment. So, yeah, a really big time for him as well. The final player that I want to look at is Anthony Gordon. Because at a time when Everton are in absolute crisis, I still feel like he's quite a good asset. Obviously, he's cheap. He is Everton's best player, like by quite some distance at this point. I mean, you can absolutely count out having obviously any Everton defenders. Like every single week, I check the Liverpool Echo to see what their rating is for their defenders. 3, 3, 3, 3. They're all getting 3 out of 10 week after week after week. Absolutely appalling how their defense is. But Anthony Gordon, as a midfielder, is the one player in this team. Often actually plays up front too, plays a more forward role. Like they'll push him up into that little pocket. And he's creative. He could score goals. If anything's going to happen, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to score, I feel like there's a decent chance that Gordon will still be able to make a difference for Everton between now and the end of the season. Like, this is a player that's been finding his feet this season in the Premier League. I think for next season, if Everton are still in the Premier League, he'll be someone we should be looking at, thinking, right, how is this guy going to now grow? It's just an interesting one. And I know that he has been certainly figuring in more teams as the weeks have gone by. And he's a very interesting option. And if you've got him, to be honest, with a double game week 2 against West Ham and Burnley in games that Everton have to win at least one of those games, just keep him.
Yeah, and the set piece threat, I know he's not been delivering the FPL points to date, but the set piece threat is there. And we just know he's absolutely nailed, as you say. Not only is he their best player, but when things are going badly and the fans potentially are going to get on your back, as they perhaps could very soon with Lampard, as long as he's playing one of the kids, he's got that extra little bit of sort of favour from the faithful. So I can't see Gordon not getting consistent starts every week. I think he's guaranteed to start. Good question from Fella about Weghorst or Gordon, Dean. Like, would you go? I mean, you probably know what I'm going to say, but Gordon Weghorst is a close call. They both got the double.
They both got the double, haven't they? I mean, who's Weghorst's other game? Man City and Everton, but both at home. Do you know what? I was back in Burnley a few weeks ago to potentially get out of trouble because I thought there had been such a fine line in their performances between success and failure. I have actually been quite disappointed with the fact they haven't been able to get more out of recent games. But up against Gordon, I'd say Weghorst obviously a bigger goal threat. So, like, I'd go if it's a toss-up between the two, I'd still go Weghorst.
You probably trust Burnley a little bit more than Everton. I don't know. Burnley at Turf Moor, because both Burnley's games are at home. Both of Everton's are away. And we know at Goodison Park, Everton have been all right under Frank. but on the road they've been dreadful.
Yeah, Focus says he's stuck with Pickford and DCL. I mean, DCL, like, there's still the possibility that he can end this season well. Like, if Everton are gonna have a pickup, then it's probably coming through him. And he is getting back into condition now, so there's some possibility there. Cornet, he's the same. I just don't see him as a good get at the moment. Do you?
No, and even when he was scoring goals early in the season, and he was, a lot of them were kind of worldies from distance. They're kind of you take 10 shots and one goes in type goals.
Yeah.
But also, Sean Dyche was hooking him after 60, 70 minutes. Even when he was their best player at the start of the season, he still never got 90. There's something quite not right there in terms of where Dyche wants to play him. Like, is he a wide man on the left, or is he part of the front two? And then J. Rod comes in and gets goals and chances. I just don't think it's a settled ideal lineup at the moment for Dyche, and I can't guarantee he, one, starts, and two, that he's in the front two positions. He might be out on the left.
Yeah, not going to lie, I'd quite like to see the back of Burnley, at least for one season. And look, I'm a Fulham fan. We're going to replace him, right?
Guys in the chat, let us know if you think Burnley are going to stay up, because this is the 50-50 one for me. Like, let's all assume we think Norwich and Watford are going to go down. And Dean, I'm going to ask you, let's try and keep this chat to the next 60 seconds. Who's the team that joins Norwich and Watford?
Well, I think it's Burnley. Like, I personally, I say, because they haven't had that pick-me-up that I thought was coming. And then I thought, obviously Everton and Leeds are the other two to consider. Leeds, the manner of their results recently just makes me feel that they're going to find a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Big blow losing Bamford, obviously, to injury again. And Everton, like, it's the one thing that I'm not sure what's happening here. Like, how is this team imploding like this? Like, Everton on paper are way too good to go down. They historically don't go down. They have been in situations like this before, and they get themselves out of it. I just think that Everton will get themselves out of this.
I do as well. I really do. Everton, I look at the table and still wonder if Brentford could be dragged into it. And I put a bet on Brentford the other day before they went and won. Did they win one or two? So maybe it's 2-3 weeks ago I put a bet on Brentford. But they're only a point above Leeds. They've got 30 points. Now we all know the magic number 40. You're not going to need 40 points this season. Like, you rarely do. But I think 36, Brentford need two more wins in 8 games. They'll probably get those points, but it's not guaranteed. I just wonder if Brentford could be dragged in. They've not got the easiest fixture on.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Who have they got last day of the season? Is it Leeds or is it... let me just check that, because the last game of the season... Yeah, Brentford v Leeds is the last game of the season. So, and that could, depending on what Burnley do, that looks like a really tasty end-of-season game.
Everton just before that as well. 2 big games at the end of the season for Brentford, Everton and Leeds. Guys, let's move on to my eye test report. Loving the chat, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like, obviously, we don't have an FPL week for some time, but we're still doing our normal Monday and Friday shows. And the Monday is all about reviewing the game week just gone with a view to looking ahead. And of course, the Friday is the preview just before. We do different features every time. Now, this, of course, is the eye test report, which is where I look at the players that have caught my eye over the weekend and perhaps are those on my watch list. So I pick 3 players, just like Dean's done 3 players on his notebook, where he sometimes gets that inside line from the club, whether it's on injury news or fixtures and things like that. FPL Harry is with us. Hello, mate. Thank you for joining us, Harry. So look, first up in my eye test report, this isn't just strictly Premier League. I've of course been watching the FA Cup this weekend. One guy I've got my eye on, and it was with a view to them getting a double later in the season, and that is Man City and KDB. I was a bit surprised with that Man City lineup, knowing they don't have a fixture for a while, and they were going on the international break. I expected Foden and Mahrez to start. I thought he'd go strongest 11 versus Southampton. But what is Pep's strongest 11? Perhaps we don't know, because he played Grealish as the 9, he played Sterling wide left, and he played Jesus wide right. And they did all right. I thought they struggled towards the end of the first half, where Southampton deservedly got back into the game. But the guy that's the ever-present in that team, And the guy that's still playing so close to the front, he's playing off the 9 at times, and that is KDB. Like, you look at his heat map, and I did this morning, and he's just off Grealish, who was playing as the false 9. And KDB gets into those positions. Now, he got an assist in the game for Foden, who scored a great goal, but he was also on penalties without Mahrez on the pitch. He's not the best at penalties, but he took it away under Foster, who nearly got a hand to it. But I just think that the set-piece threat with KDB, the fact we know he'll play every game, and the fact we know Man City have to start winning every game to win the league. Like, the league is in their hands. I think we're going to want a City attacker. And to me, I just want to play safe. And if I can get KDB in, who is a differential in the next few weeks, I think it'll be a real differential. And that's when you can start seeing some green arrows, because we've all got such similar teams. We're going to need a little bit of magic in there. KDB, if you're looking at City attack, Dean, yeah, he's not delivered the most amount of points, but he's definitely the one we can guarantee is going to play.
He's going to play, and he will decide some fixtures, and this is when the big players turn up, right? This hasn't been Kevin De Bruyne's best season at all, but he's still been finding his groove carefully, and they've been plotting a way to get him back into form and get him back into the team. And I think that Pep started to find him, finding that rhythm again. And yeah, I think he's a player, like Sam says, set and forget from now to the end of the season. I don't think that's a bad shout. I don't think there are too many players that will outscore him between now and the end of the season. Yeah, you'll have a couple of game weeks where you're getting a 2, but I think in between there will be some game weeks when he really does deliver. And we've got to remember, like, Man City, every game is a big game now. Like, Kevin De Bruyne is even like the Champions League. Okay, well, is he going to be rested in between there? Possibly, but I'm not even sure, to be honest, because Pep has this feeling that he just likes players to have minutes in their legs at a time like this in the season, and he might rotate the top 3, but I'm not sure he's going to be rotating players like Kevin De Bruyne too much.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And look, let's focus our attention on Man City, and just a little nod to a feature. And guys, many of you are new, right? On a Friday, we do something called Pep Roulette, and we look at 3 teams and we predict the 11 starters we think are coming. And guys, honestly, I follow a few people on Twitter that give me predicted 11s. None of them are as accurate as this guy. So Dean's 11s are definitely worth noting, and they massively help for your FPL teams. But to introduce that feature, we've got a nice little 5-second sting. Now, here's the deal. If you're watching tonight and you've not already given us the thumbs up, given us the like, if you like this 5-second clip, here's the deal. You've got to like us, right? Give us the thumbs up on YouTube this evening. So let's check it out. Pep Roulette. You just don't get those graphics anywhere else. Guys, give us the thumbs up. It looks awesome. And we love that feature on Fridays. So I'm hoping we're going to see that 19 likes go up nicely off the back of that. But look, I'm going to continue with my eye test report and just focus very briefly on a team that's just been impressing me every single week for the last, 6 weeks? And that is Crystal Palace. And I've had Elise in my FPL team for a while. With a heavy heart, sold him a week or 2 ago for I think Havertz. I was pleased I did that, but he's someone I've got my eye on again, Elise. And if I can't get to Elise in midfield, the standout option up front is probably Mateta, right? Like, he is 5.2 million. And earlier on in the season, Benteke was getting game time, Edouard was getting game time. But I think we've seen Mateta start 3 of the last in the Premier League, and he started the last couple in the FA Cup. He is definitely the leading number 9 at that football club. And he's getting chances galore, because he's getting Eze serving him from the midfield, as we saw in the FA Cup. Eze played in the midfield 3. Wilf on the left, Elise on the right. Like, 3 of the league's top creators are feeding this guy. Mateta doesn't have to move between the goalposts. You've just got to stay 5-10 yards out and you'll get the chances. And he's taken a couple of chances well, Dean. Have you been impressed with Mateta?
I have, yeah. And like up until recently, Vieira hasn't seemed to have any faith in any of his forwards, to be honest. And we weren't really sure what's happened, and they were getting linked with people. I actually texted someone this morning who knows about situations around Palace, and I just said, I don't suppose you've got any idea what sort of striker Vieira wants for next season, mate. I said, I see he was linked with Andre Silva, but I'm not convinced that he's joining Crystal Palace. And the reply was quite simple. Yeah, the reply was they are hoping Mateta can be the answer, and they still believe in him. So there you go. Like Mateta does seem to be the guy that Vieira is going to put his faith in from now until the end of the season. If that's the case, he's got to prove that he is that number 9 that Palace have been looking for. I think people will get moved on, and yeah, he looks like a good option.
Yeah, and he's keeping the likes of, he's keeping Benteke out the team that actually had a nice little run of games earlier in the season. I think Benteke is either the top or the second highest earner at Palace, maybe after Zaha, but he's on big money. And Mateta's just come in and gone, I've got a new contract now. I think he got a new contract in January, which we weren't sure if he was even going to stay, and he stayed and got I don't know if it's a short-term deal, but yeah, he's playing games and getting the chances. He's also scored a couple of goals against Brighton, which Palace and Brighton fans will know, like that's a big deal. He scored the winner against Brighton, and the fans will remember that. So yeah, just look at FPL and think 5.2 million. Many of us have got Breuer, myself included. He's been in and out the team of late. Southampton haven't really been scoring a huge amount of goals. And I just look at Palace and think, well, they have been scoring goals. 4 against Everton, very impressive. Now, they don't play Everton every week, but the fixtures aren't bad. Sure, they've got, I think, Arsenal and Leicester, but then it's Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton, Watford, Villa, United, and then they've that Oda game against Everton. So they will have a double game week probably in 36 or 7. So definitely one to keep an eye on, I think.
Definitely.
Guys, get your questions in. We are going to get to as many as we can. And Fergus has said 30 minutes late, forgot this was on. Look, you can always rewind and watch it, Fergus, but we'd rather you with us live so we can chat with you. Mondays and Fridays at 7, don't forget. So yeah, get your questions in, guys, and we'll get to as many as we can. Thank you guys for liking the channel as well. Many of you gave us the thumbs up off the back of that little sting, which we absolutely love. We do have our final feature of the evening before we do a question and answer, and that is something that Dean quizzes me on called FPL Visa. So let's check it out next.
Yeah, this is where Gianni earns his money, everyone. We go through defenders, midfielders, and strikers. It's called FPL Visa. And he basically tells us whether he would accept, reject, or delay their transfer at this moment in time. Every week we mix up the names, and I'm going to fire through them pretty fast. But let us know in the comments what you would do if you can react quick enough. We'll start with the defenders. And I'm going to start with Castagne. What would you do with them, mate?
I would reject, and I know he scored a goal, and I know he's a very good footballer and can play left or right back. But with his injury record and with Justin back fit, Pereira will get games. Thomas has got a lot of games. We just can't guarantee, even when fit, he will start. When everyone's fit at Leicester, there's tough competition for places there, and I'm not sure he's nailed. So for me, I would swerve Castagna.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Not reliable in my eyes. The next guy is somebody that improves year after year after year at Leeds, and it's Luke Ayling. He has become an unbelievable footballer in every sense, to be honest with you. What would you do with him, though, mate? Would you accept, reject, or delay in FPL terms?
He's so good. I love Luke Ayling. I love his story. I love the way he plays football. I love how versatile he can be. I don't like seeing him at centre back, and I don't think he likes seeing himself at centre back, as we saw a lot at the end of Bielsa's reign. Yeah. I'd reject him. I just think, I know it's Southampton and Watford up next, but they have got the blank. And even with the new manager, I still watch Leeds and think you're going to concede every game. I still don't feel like there's too many clean sheets there.
Yeah, I'll be tempted. I mean, I see a few people in the comments there, and FPL Focus sums it up, except just. Like, at the moment, I would be... Like, he is so determined, Luke Ayling, and Leeds means so much to him that you could see in that last game when he scored that goal, like, nothing was going to stop him. Like, he would have run through a brick wall in that moment. So, yeah, maybe for a week or two, I'll be tempted to bring in Luke Ayling. Final defender, mate. What about Johnny?
Oh, I'm being a Debbie Downer here. I'm rejecting Johnny as well. Again, the fear of fitness and rotation, and he's not long been back. Of course, when fit, he is in that first 11. Like, the guy was keeping Azpilicueta out of the Spain squad 2 years ago. Don't know how, but he was. So there's a bit of pedigree there. And of course they don't play in 33. And again, Wolves defence. Like, as a Kilman owner, I've been monitoring their defence, which was so good 2 months ago. They just look like they're going to concede every game again.
Yeah, everyone in comments seems to be rejecting. As Fergus says, there's so many good defensive options. You don't really need to take any punts, and that pretty much sums it up at this stage of the season, I think. Let's move on to midfield and some interesting options for sure. Let's start with Tottenham superstar Son. Accept, reject, or delay.
Accept, but not at the expense of Harry Kane. Like, if you can fit Kane and Son in your team, and no doubt you've got Salah and Trent and players like that, expensive players, then do it. Like, Son and Kane, the chemistry is real. Spurs look like they've just started to click as well. Like, I know they were winning and losing, and it was sort of yo-yoing between, but they now look like they actually are set to go on a bit of a winning run. I'd go big on Son if I could.
Yeah, I think everyone seems to be agreeing with you. Hello, Ali Mack. He's back in. He says, accept Son. Yeah, everybody is on board with you on that one. Here's a player that I think will split opinion, and somebody I'm not convinced by at all, but I've noticed quite a few people had him in last week, and that's James Maddison. What do you do with James Maddison, mate?
Yeah, I'm sitting on the fence here, and I'll say delay, because I don't hate that double in game week 33. Like, Leicester play Newcastle and Everton. Now, depending on how they do in Europe, I don't mind that double. And then after that, I think it's Aston Villa. But I wouldn't be buying him straight away. And again, I've said this a lot about some of the players in this feature. The fear of injury and the fear of not starting, again, is there for Maddison. Like, he missed the European night on that Thursday night, that big Thursday night game. He missed out. And yeah, sure, he played in the league and played well. He played on the right of the front three, I think it was. I still don't think he's settled.
Yeah, it's interesting. Quite a few people actually saying delay on that one there in the comments. Thanks for everyone who's joining in there. Don't get too many delays, but I think even at this stage of the season, with 7-8 weeks left, yeah, you could still. You probably is a time to just sound him out a little bit, because Maddison might end the season with a bang. Like, it is possible that he does owe Brendan Rodgers something this season, and he does repay him right at the end. Luke says a superb double for Leicester, and that's a fair point. The last midfielder is Diogo Jota, a guy that I've still got in my team. I'm going to have to decide whether I keep him after the international break. So I'm interested what you say here. Accept, reject, or delay.
This is the toughest one of the night. I love Jota so much, and he's earlier in the season he was the best FPL asset in the game if you look at value, right? He was out he was on a par with Salah in terms of shot volume, which is just unheard of. If you've got Salah, you probably hold, but I don't think you buy him. So I'm going to say delay. That's only because for the first time ever, Liverpool have got 5 top tier players going for 3 positions, and they're all fit. And other than Salah, none of them are 100% nailed. Even Mane isn't absolutely nailed. He's the closest of the rest. But for that reason, I just can't guarantee starts for Jota. But when he doesn't actually need starts, if Jota gets 60 minutes, you're over the moon. And if he gets 30, you still think you're going to get points. So it's a very hard sell, and I'd sit on the fence.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to when I heard a few weeks back now when we're talking about Jota being prioritised for Champions League. I have to find out if that's still going to be the case. With Luis Diaz, obviously a player who used to play up against Benfica and was a rival of Benfica, and that's who Liverpool are playing in the Champions League. So we have to see what happens there. Let's blitz through these strikers. I think you can probably decide on these quite quick. The first one, you can give me an answer because I need it. Calvert-Lewin, accept, reject, or delay.
I'm gonna get rid. I'd definitely be rejecting Calvert-Lewin. Sorry, mate. On paper, he should be doing it for you at times.
Should be, yeah, I know. I should have got rid of him a while ago, and I just kept faith, and don't know why.
Yeah, not for me.
No, that's absolutely fair. Harry Kane.
Oh, this is a quick win. Yes, just do what you can to get Harry Kane in your team, guys. If you can convert a Jimenez or a DCL into Kane, yeah, move mountains to make it happen.
Maybe I'll take a hit. Okay, and the last one, a man that I don't think will be playing for Aston Villa next season, Danny Ings.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm with you. Gerrard doesn't seem to fancy him. Like, if he does, yeah, sure, he's playing 2 strikers at the moment, which is good for Ings owners. But his preferred striker, he's only going to play Wiley, is Watkins all day. So, yeah, Ings isn't one for me. And I don't think he'll be one for Gerrard. I'm with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for joining in with that. That was good fun.
Yeah, I enjoy that. It's one of the best features of the night, I think.
It is, yeah, for sure.
Love that. Kane versus Son is a great question from Harry. Like, it's very easy to change your opinion on this every week, depending on who's just done very well. You watch the game at the weekend and go, is Kane just the number 10 that's always going to feed Kulu and feed Son and just get assists? And Son very good in front of goal. But I feel like you've got to stick with your guy, whoever that is. And look, there were some very good FPL managers, probably one of the best FPL managers, if not the best of all time this week, that has been sticking Mark Sutherland. He's stuck with Son for the last month. It's really hurt him every week because Kane's been scoring points. He went on Black Box, his FPL show, and said, no, I'm going to stick with Son. And then at the final hurdle, and I completely understand why, and I probably would have done the same thing. On Friday night, he took Son out for a hit and bought Harry Kane. And he knows he would have known, like, Son was the shout and just stay loyal to your guy. And then Son goes and outscores him. So I feel like whoever you go with, you've probably got to run with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's almost like at the start of the season, you just pick one of those guys and just leave them in your team for the whole season, unless they get injured, and just see, like, over the course of the season, it'll be fine. Whichever one you've got, they're not going to let you down over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think so. Guys, remember that we do comment at the stream. So let's see who gets the top comment of the stream today. But we've got a few more questions to answer. Havertz till the end. I'm a big fan, Mohammed. Yes. I think Havertz for value. Like, if you own Jota, for example, at a similar price, you can save money and buy Havertz, who is nailed. And watching Lukaku in the FA Cup, yeah, he scored a tap-in, but that's Havertz's shirt to lose, and I can't see him losing it anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. I keep forgetting about Kai Havertz. He's quite a good footballer, isn't he? Who's their next game? Brentford at home, yeah.
Brentford at home is a tasty fixture, isn't it? Yeah, and he obviously had his rest against Borough. I know he'll go and play for Germany, but probably isn't going to get a huge amount of minutes. So
yeah, that's the other thing to bear in mind, by the way. Obviously, when we're talking about these teams right now, like, international duty is going to throw up a few injuries. So, like, it's a horrible time for that to have a break like this.
Yeah. Love that kit, Dean. Who's on the back of it, says Jasper.
There's absolutely no one on the back of this, actually. This is just a blank Fulham shirt. Haven't got too many that are blank, but yeah, this is one of the few that has got nobody on it. If it was to have anyone, it would obviously have Mitrovic.
I was going to say that's an easy one. How much is Mitro going to be in FPL next year, Dean? Will he come in at, because last season, or two, was it last? Yeah, last season, I can't remember what it came in at. It might have been 5.5 or 6.
5.5 maybe. I'd imagine it'd be around there again, 5.5 or 6. I think, like, next time he comes into the league, you're looking at a totally different animal from last time, because Scott Parker was playing a different system. He didn't really fancy Mitro being a central part of that. Mitrovic, actually, away from that, has a decent record in the Premier League. Under Marco Silva is an absolute goal machine. Have to see what additions Fulham make, obviously, in the summer if we are going to come up. But if he was to be 5.5, I'd be very, very tempted to have him in there at the start. So we'll check back in on that in a few months.
Honestly, mate, he's going to be, if he's 5.5 or even 6, even if he's 6.5, I think his ownership might be like 30-40%. He'll be like Ivan Toney this season, who was like 30% by game week 1, I think.
And don't forget, Ivan Toney was the Championship's top goal scorer, and Mitro has taken that record off him, so he could have the same impact that Toney's had this season.
Yeah, and he's done it before. We know Mitro can do it. Does he? What system does Silva play? Does he play in a front two, or has he got wide, pacey forwards either side? I don't watch Fulham at all.
It's like a 3 up front. Yeah, so he's the central figure, and he has people feeding him. But we need better people feeding him. Jasper asked thoughts on Nico Williams, who is on loan at Fulham at the moment from Liverpool. He is absolutely different class. Like,
is he?
If Mitro's my favourite Fulham player, Nico Williams might be second already. Like, he's only been with us since January. He is unreal. Like, especially at Championship level, he's head and shoulders above every other player trying to play that position in that league. I'd love it if we can keep him in the Premier League.
I can't wait to chat more Fulham in the next few months. Ali has said thoughts on Schmeichel to Pope and Ings to Weghorst. So, Ali, you're looking at bringing in 2 Burnley players who, of course, double in 31. What I love about Burnley is it's not the easiest double, but they are both at Turf Moor. They also double in game week 33. Oh, and by the way, that's still owed an extra fixture. So I see why you're targeting Burnley. I don't know if I'd want to sell Schmeichel, though. Like, he also doubles in 33. And is also owed 2 games. So Schmeichel is still going to get lots of extra games. I do like the Ings to Weghorst move, though. That would be the one. I don't think I'd take the hit, but I'd go Ings to Weghorst. Same with you.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, I think I'd go Ings to Weghorst at this stage, just based on what they're playing for right now and who's going to be playing. Like, Weghorst will play every game, whereas Ings not looking so good. Sanjeev, what's the general defence setup from now on? Trent, James, Cancelo. It's already too expensive, and more Chelsea and Robbo addition is so tempting.
Yeah, I think it is big at the back. Those three you mentioned, I mean, yeah, I can't wait to get James back in my team. I would add possibly Doherty to that, and I know he's not been keeping too many cleans. I think he's had 1 in 3, but he looked very good again yesterday. Reguilon came off before him, and he moved to left back when Emerson came on. He's nailed at right back, and he's only, I think, 4.7, 4.8. So you can save quite a bit of money by going Doherty there, and then maybe it's a cheapo like an Amati to go for your 5th defender. I don't mind big at the back. Last question here. With no budget restrictions, who would be our ultimate back 5? So the dream team back 5, Dean. Why don't you go and I go till we get to 5? You go 1, I go 1. You go 1, I go 1.
Back 5. Oh my goodness. Well, are we presuming Trent's coming back? I presume.
Yeah.
Trent.
I'll go Cancelo as my number 2.
Do you know what? I think I'm gonna go. This is so annoying. I mean, it's James, isn't it? Still, it's James.
It's really, the 3 standouts.
Yeah, I mean, it has to. I was like, does James still count? Like, he is coming back. Yeah, it has to be James. Yeah.
I think they're the big 3. But then I still think if you could go bigger, you probably go double Liverpool and you go Robbo, because it's Robbo.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was still like, part of me is thinking like, you're just looking at the teams that are top who are going to concede the least goals and probably weigh in with a goal too. And like, I've liked Rudiger a lot through this season, but I don't know if at this stage of the season I would be picking him. So it's a 5th option.
We've picked fullbacks only, haven't we? And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that they just give you that extra dimension, don't they? Where they've got the more license to go forward. There's more possibility of getting assists. Yeah. There must be an outsider that's... I mean, I would have had Kilman in here 3 weeks ago. I'd have had absolutely no qualms about going Kilman, but I think I've given him the kiss of death by talking him up too much.
Yeah, Harry's got a good suggestion. He's gone with the guy I was thinking as number 5, and that is going with Doherty. So you have a bit of Spurs cover.
Yeah.
And they've got so much to play for, Spurs, and Conte will start keeping clean sheets.
Yeah, I think so. Mohammed says Tierney. I mean, yeah, that's a good shout too. Dean probably loves the fact that the international break, he can finally fix his team. Cheers, Luke. What I'm going to do is delete the app for 10 days and then come back to it and have fresh eyes. Something like that. I'm actually going away for a bit as well. So I'm going away in a couple of 10. Well, just before the games start again, I'll be in Chicago. So maybe on that flight over there, I'll give my team a little chat and a little team talk for the last burst of the season.
Love that. All the passengers around you on that BA flight be like, why is he talking into his phone like that? Love it. I don't know what our comment of the week is, but we're having a quick scroll through now. We're going to bring it up on screen. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I saw that one earlier. That's from Zodak. I need to bring Sharko in for one of these streams. He's always on the sofa with my wife at this time of night. But Sharko, is it him muting the stream? It could have been. I mean, I only touched my microphone, no buttons, and somehow it muted. So I'm not going to pick that up. But thank you, Zodak, for that one. And I will make sure Sharko has a guest appearance on a stream in the next week. Perhaps Friday, perhaps Monday. I can usually hold him for about 10 minutes on one of these until he gets like answered.
I would do the same with my kids, but that definitely is not a good idea.
Yeah, for the time being, I have to treat Sharko like a child, and he absolutely loves it. Guys, thank you very much for watching. It's been loads of fun. Look, if you're new around here, then you can check us out. I mentioned this a few times, but I want you guys to know that our Mondays and our Friday streams are here to stay. Our Friday streams are often a bit more chaotic, a bit more fast-paced. The Pep Roulette features a really good one, predicting the 11s of just the 3 or 4 biggest teams of the week. So do join us again this Friday. Check out the previews every Monday and Friday. Like the stream, subscribe. Dean, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you guys for all watching, and we'll see you very soon.